We're diving right back in from where we left off. And if you haven't watched the previous videos in this series, what are you even doing? Go check them out first. Links are in the description. Watch those, get up to speed, and then come back to enjoy this one. Now let's get into it. This bitch faces Gaul Joshua, the fifth son of the family. Just one sight of this dude is enough for Isaac to conclude that he's your average delinquent. This guy doesn't even regard the boy as a person. He calls him a mere thing instead of recognizing him as the descendant of the family. Riley strongly opposes Gaul, while Isaac is almost convinced that this new clown is also a part of a group that despises him for some reason. Then again, Isaac is of the same opinion that he should go into the annex instead of wasting time hearing bedtime stories. Gaul insults the kid to the point Isaac doesn't get why he's beefing with a damn 1-year-old. It's insane levels of petty coming from him. Anyway, Isaac has decided to go to the annex and acquire some mana cores. Relia disagrees and counters that people will think of the boy as cursed if they send him there. All of a sudden, Isaac realizes he's making a fucking mistake. His intention was to suck the man of cores dry and then become the saint and the pope on top of that. Then finally, he would be able to take revenge against the gods. Gaul points out how a demon specifically came to target the child, which means he's probably already cursed. The leader of the Blue Division counters that it was Isaac's involvement that led to the demon's defeat. They all mention his special saintly powers, but Gaul is unfazed and doesn't give a shit. He calls the baby a pile of garbage, continually upsetting the boy as the argument goes on. The detection spell even thinks that Isaac should sneakily rain down a bunch of meteors on this guy's, as to teach him a lesson. Gaul is okay with them calling the Joshua descendant a saint, but he wants to politely remind them of the family crest. He thinks it would be useful to get the child to revive the one thing that their lord loves dearly. The holy tree died thanks to the mana of the powerful demons. Gaul believes that the boy should be capable of reviving the tree if he truly does possess powers of a saint. He's provoking Relia, who thinks the guy has gone crazy. Isaac is convinced that Melissa left behind some psychopathic descendants behind her back. At first her son went missing, and her second son ended up being adopted. Isaac suddenly spots something that catches his eye and literally throws his damn detection spirit at it. The dead tree has been resting for 70 years, and yet Gaul ridiculously expects a mere child to revive it instantly. Both of them are interrupted when they catch sight of the holy tree, now filled with life and as full as ever. It really did come back to life, leaving Gaul stuttering for words. Isaac doesn't even think it was a big deal. He just had the spirit suck all the bad mana from it, leaving it full of life. Realized men are stumped, and he's astonished. They all think it was a baby again. They're all celebrating in joy after seeing him perform yet another miraculous feat. Gaul, on the other hand, still thinks that it's ridiculous that a mere child pulled off something unimaginable. No one in their family was able to do anything, and yet this mere boy revived the tree. First it was exorcism, but now it's purification too. Gaul strongly accuses his brother of messing with him, believing that Riley somehow possesses help of the saintess and deliberately acted out a scene. Gaul's strong accusations cause the conflict to escape even further. Isaac is left wondering that Melissa's household is in need of serious therapy because these guys are all crazier than even the demons. Gaul, for some reason, doesn't even look like Melissa. They suspect that he must be a half-brother of some kind. His appearance kind of fits the bill for the Pope. Gaul is as enraged as ever, howling at real life for perpetrating a scene, even though they've already got a saint candidate among the Joshua family. This is surprising news to the boy, because he just came to learn that there's a competitor against him. Clearly, Gaul is supporting the other candidate. Isaac wonders if the second candidate is just as foolish as these clowns. Relia helps talk some sense to his brother, reminding him of the kid's importance and his right to lead the house. But Gaul only smears his first brother's name, calling him a coward and a wimp for running away. Isaac is now being treated like a bastard child among the Joshuas, which is honestly the least surprising thing about this family. Gaul accuses him of being a half-blood and lays out a haunting theory. He thinks Isaac isn't necessarily their brother's son even, as his face only matches the description of the saintess only. To this, Relia gets immensely pissed and chucks a fist in his face. A well-deserved punch for baseless accusations. Isaac is just enjoying them fighting each other, when really it's just a one-sided massacre with Relia bullying and beating the shit out of Gaul. It's the perfect setting as it makes things easier for him to conquer in the future. He's already wishing the worst upon this household. But the demon spirit politely reminds him that he will also go down if the entire house falls, so it's not exactly the best idea. In the next scene, Isaac plays the part of what he is supposed to be. A damn baby. He's out here looking like a potato, sitting amongst the most important members of the family. They're all in strong opposition, and against the kid, up until the acting matriarch, Hina Joshua, orders them to be silent. She lays out her decision to raise the child in a minor house away from the main attention. She inquires why he brought the child here in the first place. The woman is expressing open hostility, which is enough to confirm to Isaac where her loyalty lies. As for Gowl and his broken nose, he's as bitchless and smug as ever. Relia begins by dodging the question and pointing out that his father isn't around to make the decision. Hina expresses that he's out of the city to deal with the Saint candidate situation. Relia drops the bombshell on everyone by revealing the incredible feat of Isaac Joshua, the boy who revived the holy tree. Gowl and the others are stunned. He even tries to bring it down. The rest of the members also agree that not even the patriarch could figure out a solution to the tree. So the doings of the boy make no sense. Hina naturally agrees with them too, and quickly points out the lack of evidence. Isaac is done playing around and decides to whip out some proof for them to enjoy. He unleashes magic that shocks everyone at the table, showcasing to them the energy of the holy tree in the form of a crystal. Relia must be thinking this kid is the perfect storm of chaos and greatness. Isaac's face just says it all. He's giving these elders the absolute runaround. Like, seriously, the kid's pulling off feats that even the old folks can't wrap their heads around. He just casually drained the mana from the holy tree like it was nothing. People are shook, but they're trying to keep a straight face as they process what happened. Gowl, though, is losing his mind. He can't fathom how this baby could have done something so impossible. He's got a point, I mean, come on. But Relia is all in for Isaac, defending him like he's his personal champion. The kid did it instinctively, Relia says, which is just too much. This is a huge flex for Isaac, but also, how is this even happening? Gowl is not having it. He's up in arms, calling all of this nonsense. The whole situation is just blowing his mind, especially when he points at Isaac, who's just chilling like the most badass 1-year-old ever. Isaac isn't even trying to be a show-off. He's just doing his thing while the adults have an aneurysm over his existence. Then Relia starts pushing for Isaac to become the next saint, or even pope if he puts in the effort. Isaac's like, sure, whatever, until he hears the mention of the Skeleton King. That's when he's like, nope, I'm out. It's too much even for him. And the elders are listening closely. Their arch-nemesis is on the table now. Hina, though, is over here thinking Relia is digging his own grave with all this talk. Then things get even more interesting. Hina suggests testing Isaac's powers using the divine relic storage, and that's when everything hits a whole new level. It's a serious test, and the Patriarch's got some resistance to it because he knows how dangerous it is. But then, surprise, surprise, Melissa rolls in, and she's all about it. She's not fazed by the risk of a kid from another family stealing something. She's seen it all. Melissa, though, has a bit of a larger plan. She's thinking if this kid can pull off the impossible, then he might just be the one to finally take down the Skeleton King for good. So, she throws in a reward, a pretty big one too. The best treasure in the divine relic storage, plus the Zhou Shao family's generation heirloom. A pretty sweet deal if Isaac pulls through. But before we get to the details of the divine relic storage, it's good to know that this place is a vault of secrets, protected for thousands of years by Sanuses. The Joshua family has held on to it for generations, and only kids under 10 get to set foot inside. It's an honor to even get a shot at it, and now Isaac's stepping into some major territory. Isaac's facing off against an obstacle course of pure madness, and this kid's got his work cut out for him. With all these power-hungry candidates eyeing the divine relic storage, it's clear no one's going to hold back. The stakes are high, and Isaac's got one hell of a mission ahead, getting his previous body back from this crazy vault. So, the captain of the Blue Division gives Isaac the 411. 5 candidates from each major household will step up, but they all know the odds are stacked against them. Isaac's pretty sure he's got this in the bag, though. He's relieved to have distractions to deal with, and he's thinking those will make his hunt for the Skeleton King much easier. Relia, ever the worried big brother, isn't having any of that. He's got all these warnings, dangers lurking inside the storage, demon spirits from the battlefield, and some serious threats. Isaac, being the cocky little guy he is, brushes it off. They'll be weak, he thinks. One attack and done. But then Riley drops the bombshell. Isaac's going up against 8th-ranked demons. Oh, and did he mention the 9th-ranked dragon? A freaking dragon inside a storage meant for little kids to level up in? Yeah. Isaac's eyes widen, and the demon spirit inside him can't stop laughing. This family is out of their minds. But Isaac? He's terrified. He starts biting his nails, full-on sweating bullets. Why? Because Isaac's history with dragons is complicated. He's scammed and sold them in the past, and now, those same dragons bear a grudge. They'll recognize his soul on sight. The demon spirit thinks Isaac's toast, like maybe it's time for a new master? But Isaac's not going down without a fight. He might be a baby, but he's got a plan. He knows he can't take on 9th-ranked demons with his current strength, so the best bet is to grab those mana cores from the annex, cue the shift in Isaac's plan. Capture the mana cores, get stronger. But let's be real, the kid's more deranged than ever. His fear is written all over his face, but he's also studying up on how to slay the Skeleton King in every possible way. If only he could wield holy power, he'd be unstoppable. But that's out of the question. Using holy magic would make him a target for the demons. Meanwhile, the demon spirit's got a whole other agenda. Isaac needs to stay on course, focus on the annex. But Isaac's distracted by all this holy magic theory nonsense. Riley, realizing the kid's burning out, swoops in with a plan. He casts a regeneration spell on Isaac, giving him a full recovery. Isaac, now fully rested, is hyped. He wants more attack spells too. But Riley's still got his priorities straight. They need to get through the obstacles first before anything else. Isaac's got his hands full, but the journey to become the strongest is about to get even crazier. So he sleeps with Oscar-worthy acting and convinces Riley that the child is impressive at sleeping as well. They fell for an obvious spell like that. Even the demon spirit can't believe that the Joshuas are so naive. Isaac comes to his senses when he hears a nest about the totem. They want to keep it safe somewhere, which is bad news because Isaac requires it for resurrection. Poor dude is crying his eyeballs out, devastated that he doesn't even have access to his mana core anymore. At this point, he's convinced that he'll have to use the mana from the cores in the annex. He executes Mission Impossible 10 and attempts to crawl his way out. Isaac signals the spirit to open the door because he's got a plan. As for his mission, Isaac hits the ground and learns that Riley locked the door on his way out with a holy spell. It makes things more hectic. Isaac orders him to break the spell, but then it will draw attention. He's seriously annoyed that things aren't going his way, and if he intervenes with his own magic, there will be hell to explain. Right as he's thinking of another plan, Bro gets hit with the damn door. One of the kids surprisingly came to pay him a visit. This brat is the son of Gowl, a 5-year-old called Shuri, and this dude is supposed to be his rival for the Saint candidate spot. Shuri is pissed that a mere baby could do something beyond his level of genius. He emphasizes that he'll be the one to become the Saint candidate no matter what. Once again, Bro is beefing with a 1-year-old. All Isaac has to do is shove a mallet against his face, figuring out his transport vehicle for his destination. Shuri winces in pain, while the tiny murder machine wants to pay him back dearly for attempting to attack him. He beats the shit out of Shuri, smacking him again and again until he's forced to cast a barrier. Isaac is actually surprised that he could cast a holy barrier magic. Shuri then activates a 3rd-rank attack magic, aiming to obliterate the 1-year-old, which is just crazy to me. Isaac thinks it's all impressive before he casts an even bigger barrier to prevent the attack. Shuri can't believe his eyes. A mere 1-year-old is casting insane levels of magic without any training. It's him on the ropes now, as Isaac has just learned his first attack spell on top of that. He points to Shuri to unleash his attack, and witnesses the scene in complete joy. The demon spirit understands that he's enjoying bullying a child, but reminds him that killing a Joshua descendant isn't the wisest idea. But Isaac knows that, which is why none of the attacks actually struck Shuri. Embarrassed, he howls at the kid for scaring him. Shuri talks shit against the kid until the damn Shadow Lich manifests in response to Shuri laying a single finger against his master. Shuri gets on his knees and begs for his life, completely terrified that the baby's got a really scary bodyguard to protect him. Isaac stares at Shuri like a villain, ordering the brat to become his transport vehicle and carry him. The brown-haired boy, Shuri Joshua, is just 5 years old and the son of Gowl Joshua, who holds a deep grudge against our protagonist. Though he's a Saint candidate, Shuri secretly yearns to escape the cursed Joshua household and dreams of one day becoming a pope. As the scene transitions, our little toddler, the former Demon King, is seen riding on Shuri's back. Using his milk bottle as a makeshift direction indicator, he orders Shuri to take him to the annex immediately. Annoyed by being treated like a horse, Shuri grumbles, questioning why he has to put up with this ridiculous task. But before he can complain any further, Isaac's shadow lich looms over him, threatening to obey the orders given. It addresses him as a little bug and advises him to focus on making it out alive rather than whining. As the scene transitions, Shuri has taken the toddler nearly to his destination. He asks, wondering aloud where he's being dragged off to at such an hour, half-jokingly wondering if he is a ghost. Suddenly, he freezes, realizing that the place he's standing in front of is none other than the Joshua residence's second annex. Shuri freaks out, claiming that it's a haunted house. He can't understand why the toddler has brought him to such a terrifying place. I'm pretty sure this is where kids should definitely have no business being. He recalls the rumors about the annex, a place known for the many lies it has claimed, which led the patriarch to forbid entry. Meanwhile, our boy and his shadow pet Whisper are scheming something dangerous. The mana levels inside are so high that they would be the equivalent of training for an entire decade. Excited, the toddler tugs on Shuri's ears, urging him to take him inside. However, his cousin resists, insisting that kids like them are definitely not allowed inside. But before he can resist much longer, the shadow lich reappears and scares the living daylights out of Shuri, forcing him to obey the toddler's instructions. Shuri, despite trembling with fear, reluctantly does as he's asked at gunpoint. Meanwhile, our little toddler is more focused on the inner state of the second annex, which appears even more dilapidated than it looked from the outside. His pet Whisper analyzes the entire place and informs him that the annex is shrouded in some sort of seal. Whisper further clarifies that each one of the doors is surrounded by something resembling a barrier. This revelation leaves our toddler disappointed, as he was hoping for a clear path. Meanwhile, Shuri, still panicking, insists they should leave, pointing out that everything is locked and sealed. But this is Isaac we're talking about, and as expected, the toddler refuses to give up at any cost. In frustration, he yanks on poor Shuri's poop brown hair. After a brief pause, the two happen to notice the paintings hanging on the walls. Shuri shares with his baby master that they belong to the past patriarchs. Sensing his cousin's motivation, our boy asks if Shuri plans on going after the patriarch position too. So after he calms down a bit, the boy confidently boasts that he will undoubtedly be the next patriarch. In the meantime, Isaac comes up with a plan. Having detected barriers around the pictures, he raises his magical milk bottle, now glowing red, and uses it to break the barrier. A chill runs down Shuri's spine as he imagines the consequences, accurately predicting that he'll soon be blamed for what Isaac just did. Throwing his hands over his head, Shuri shouts at the toddler, demanding to know what he's doing to their great ancestors. Completely unfazed, Isaac simply replies that only a fool would place barriers on mere portraits. Isaac's pet informs him that the barrier has been broken, which cheers our boss's baby up. With a mischievous grin, Isaac jumps off Shuri's shoulders and rolls over to the exit like a plane doing a barrel roll. Now teeming with panic, Shuri shouts after him, asking where the heck the little runt is going off to after making such a mess. Upon reaching the door, Isaac commands Whisper to lock it, leaving the poor 5-year-old Shuri alone outside. Shuri shouts at Isaac, wondering what he's doing. But our tyrannical toddler just waves him off, saying that a mere child like him doesn't need to know. Ignoring Shuri's protests, Isaac sits down and begins his ritual of absorbing mana. Shuri, on the other hand, has had enough. He demands that Isaac leave the room or he'll tell the adults about everything, warning him that he'll be branded a traitor. As soon as he bangs on the door, he feels a sense of impending doom. It turns out the adults have already found their way to him, looking for the two kids. Seeing the adults approaching, Shuri thinks it's the perfect time to complain about Isaac. But before he can as much as utter a word, his whining is abruptly cut short by an old geezer who bursts in, furious. The elder scolds Shuri for entering the forbidden place, no matter what his reasons are. Shuri's face pales as the old woman scolds him for acting so immature and bringing a toddler along with him. She accuses him of being reckless, reminding him that many people have seen him carrying the little boy on his back. Then, she asks if the traces of holy magic she found in Isaac's room were all his doing. Shuri, caught off guard by the inquiries, can't find the words to defend himself. After all, no one would believe that it was all the work of a mere toddler. His silence only deepens the suspicion. Uncle Riley steps forward and rests his hand on Shuri's shoulder with a serious expression. He berates the boy, emphasizing that he's gone too far this time. In a calmer tone, he accuses Shuri of harassing a toddler who hasn't even stopped drinking his mother's milk. The uncle in shining armor then knocks on the door, asking Isaac if he is inside. This legend is actually asking a newborn if he got locked in. Anyway, when the door opens, they find our boy sitting inside wailing and seemingly petrified. The old lady quickly approaches him, deeply concerned about the little toddler left all alone, pitying the terrified poor thing. With his frustration reaching its peak, Shuri watches Isaac with growing rage and is unable to hold back any longer. He shouts with his seething rage boiling over, demanding an explanation. The old lady notices the sudden outburst and furrows her brow, wondering what could have caused such a reaction. She wonders if it is due to the chilly weather. Meanwhile, Isaac is perched comfortably in Riley's arms, blissfully unaware of the growing tension in the room. He relishes the magic he has absorbed, clenching his tiny paws in satisfaction. You see, the sheer quantity of mana he collected to juice his powers would normally take decades to accumulate. Having gathered up this much mana, he plans on using it efficiently for what he has been intending to. The following day after the shenanigans, Uncle Riley decides it's time to take action. He arrives at Isaac's room with a lady by his side and introduces her as his assistant. The noble lady steps forward and introduces herself as Asalai Larcha. She conveniently also happens to be a holy knight from the Joshua household. Finishing up her intro, she bows gracefully before Isaac and pledges to serve him with her whole heart until her last breath. Our little toddler wonders if this is the result of the previous night's events. He puts on his best baby ghost act and asks the lady to leave his sight. The situation quickly grows a bit awkward for our boy, but she doesn't back down. Her face turns a shade of red as she shyly asks if she can pinch Isaac's cheek. Isaac can't help but wonder what this lady is up to, especially considering the strange characters that fill his household. In the meantime, Uncle Riley reaches into his inner coat pocket. He pulls out a ring and presents it to Isaac as a special gift from his uncle. The toddler looks at the simple ring and wonders if Uncle Riley fished it out of a random dumpster. After taking a closer look at its quality, our boy and his pet come to the conclusion that the Joshua household must be facing some serious crisis. However, the lady assistant catches a glimpse of the ring and asks if it happens to be the Saintess's heirloom, a treasure reserved for only a select few. Uncle Riley pats Isaac on the head, proudly sharing with him that he personally requested the item for his first birthday from the council. The toddler wonders if the ring is the real deal. As far as he can recall, this was the exact same item the Saintess used during their battle. Known as the Elder Ring, this treasure holds powers that are said to stretch beyond this world. With this newfound knowledge, our boy can't help but get excited about the holy power locked inside the ring. He knows the ring will likely break if he uses it more than twice, but as the former Skeleton King, he's already thought of a way to repair it. His doubts about whether the ring is authentic are quickly confirmed when Uncle Gowl Joshua looks at it with an expression that clearly shows jealousy. Without wasting a moment, the jealous prick steps closer to Isaac, calling him his cute little nephew. It's obvious that Uncle Gowl has ulterior motives and plans on stealing Isaac's ring. He starts by warming up to Isaac just like when he would sweet-talk his daddy when asking for something. Isaac wonders if the man has completely lost it. Meanwhile, the uncle is caught up in a situation that's much more complicated than he expected. In reality, he's the one responsible for breaking the blessing device that Isaac was supposed to receive. He made sure Isaac wouldn't get his hands on it. What he had never anticipated, though, was that Riley would go so far as to provide the Saintess's heirloom as compensation. Before Isaac even touched the ring, Gowl did everything he could to convince the old lady to give it to Shuri, but all his efforts were in vain. No matter what he said or did, the old hag flatly refused, telling him not to be greedy. Gowl grinds his teeth in frustration, thinking that no one could ever understand the true value of the ring. He argues with Riley, insisting that if he really wanted to give his nephew a gift, He should have chosen something decent instead of this useless piece of junk. However, Rely seems firmly opposed to this idea and counters that the ring is anything but useless. Gowl then responds by saying that Isaac is incredibly precious to him and that he would never give him something as worthless as this. With a sly grin, he pulls out another ring and shows it to his nephew. He proudly claims that this ring is imbued with magic beyond this world and comes directly from the Holy See, also known as the Sanctus Sedis. Gowl goes on to explain that this relic is capable of storing things and is an incredibly rare item that Rely could never have gotten for Isaac. He then brings the ring close to Isaac, hoping the toddler would trade the other ring for it. But instead, the infant slaps his hand away. The toddler dismisses the new ring as just a worthless piece of junk and proudly proves Gowl wrong by declaring that he couldn't outsmart him. To emphasize his point, he even tosses the ring away, finding it utterly useless. Watching all this unfold, Rely can't help but wonder why his nephew chose the ring he gave him over the one that looked at least 1,000 times more valuable. Thrilled by Isaac's choice, Rely tosses his nephew into the air with excitement. Meanwhile, Uncle Gowl is desperately having his servants search the water for his supposed invaluable ring. The little toddler soaring in the air feels optimistic knowing they'll never find it since he cast weight magic on it. Clearly impressed by Isaac, his pet praises him for always living up to expectations. But his mood shifts when Isaac casually tells him to pick it up at dawn. Meanwhile, Uncle Gowl is in full meltdown mode, crying and shouting in frustration because his precious fortune ring is gone, and none of his men can find it. The scene shifts to Uncle Gowl slamming his fist on the table in his room, seething with frustration. He argues that the infant has no idea how expensive it was for him to acquire the storage ring. With a deep sigh, he pushes the thought aside, hoping that Isaac would never be able to use the Elder Ring properly. Gowl convinces himself that the toddler would never manage to use its power, as he would need to absorb at least 20 people's worth of holy power to do so. He laughs at the idea, convinced it's impossible for the kid. Mocking Isaac further, he predicts that not even 10 people will attend his birthday ceremony. However, the next day, things take an unexpected turn. The place is completely packed with people, around 4,000 in total. Among them are over 148 Saint candidates. It turns out that all the ducal families, dozens of marquis families, and even the imperial majesty have gathered to attend the ceremony. Hearing about the overwhelming number of Saint candidates, our boy feels a surge of irritation, wondering why there are so many, as if someone had just scattered them across the world like seeds in the wind. His uncle rests his chin in his hand, musing that he never expected such a massive crowd to gather here. As he tries to make sense of why so many people have shown up, his bestie, Count Simonage, suddenly appears. Without wasting a second, he asks what brought Simon here. With a grin, Simon explains that the rumor has spread far and wide, and there was no way he could miss out on something this big. Barrett goes on questioning how Rely could have possibly kept him confined to his house after everything the head of the Joshua household has risked. With a smirk, he drops another bombshell. The Pope's own family will be attending the ceremony. The toddler's uncle scoffs at the idea, calling it ridiculous since there is no way the Pope's family would bother showing up. Simon, however, doesn't hold back, throwing out a harsh truth about how deeply they detest commoners. His words hang heavy in the air. But before he can say more, Rely urgently warns him to keep his voice down, reminding him that even walls have ears. Simon sees no reason to hold back, especially now that even his own kid, Armin, has been chosen as a saint candidate. Yet Rely still urges him to watch his words carefully. As their argument heats up, an unsettling presence creeps in. Bishop Barrett arrives without a sound, sending a wave of unease through the room. With a smug grin, he wastes no time mocking Rely, calling him weak and unworthy. The idea that someone like him could pull off such a grand event seems laughable in his eyes. His gaze then shifts to Rely's family, his words dripping with scorn. He wonders aloud whether the saint candidate has what it takes to bring any real honor to their name. Across the lands, it is common knowledge that boys of the esteemed Joshuas may have enchanting looks, yet they are seen as utterly useless. This reputation persists because others frequently seek to drain their power and win the favor of the Barrett family's popes by undermining these unfortunate children. A long-standing custom among outsiders involves slipping poisoned milk bottles into their hands under the guise of harmless pranks. The intent is clear. Lacing a baby's juice with a blend of toxins, including holy poison, is a surefire way to cripple his sacred power. This cruel trick usually turns innocent infants into tragic warnings for others. But this time the outcome is anything but expected. That's it for today's video. If you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more awesome videos like this. Thanks for watching.